What's going on? What up? What up? What up? It's a big Wednesday card. I call it non-screwball type card, but definitely if you're a Power 5 better, this is something that you obviously look forward to every week. For me, I am not looking really forward to this card. I think that there are a lot of games that are playing coin flips. The lines are very indicative of that, so I'm not going to stress myself out to look for plays on games when I really don't need to. So apologize if I offend any of the games that you want to hear about. You have to put a request in the chat for me to actually give you my notes on it. So let's go through the added board first. I think that it's a real easy split. You have the Big South Conference. You have the SWAC. The SWAC is very unpredictable. Lots of crazy shit happens. Tales of two halves. Under first half, over full game type shit. Not the best to build a bankroll on. So I do have a couple plays there, but it's not my favorite conference. So let's get the Big South out of the way first. Listen. Plain and simply, High Point against UNC Asheville is a game that UNC Asheville wins, the game stays under. If the game goes over, High Point has a better chance of winning. They're obviously avoiding to looking to go 0-3 in Big South games for the first time since John Michael Wright wasn't on campus before his freshman season. I think that with High Point, 3-point makes is what solidifies their offense. If they can drop threes early, then they will be in a good position. And going up against UNC Asheville, even though they are a very high volume 3-point team, they have trouble scoring in other areas, mainly the free throw line. And that's where I think that they could leave enough points at the free throw line to cost them the game and cost them the win here. So for me, Drew Pember is a guy that you have to body up. You got to be able to navigate close to the rim without getting in his way. And from a scoring perspective, I've seen him hit a 3-point shot to win the game at the top of the circle. You got to be aware of that. And I think that if they can D up on him and take him out of the equation, there's a lot of guards that do the same thing for Asheville with Trent Stepney, with Tyjon Jones. So for me, I like the over. I like the first half over, and I like High Point in the game. So we'll see what happens. Something's got to give. Asheville's giving up 60 points a game. So if they can get over that mark, then I think that High Point should be competitive for the whole game. I do worry if they fall behind by 7 to 10 points in the first half. Then I'll have to reevaluate. But this is a must-win game for High Point, and I think that it's a good situational spot also for them. All right, so Gardner-Webb and Campbell, we've seen the line start to get steamed up from 2 to 4.5. Gardner-Webb really has owned Campbell, even with Campbell having one of their better rosters last year and the year before. I think that when you look at this game, it definitely rings to me like first half under, full game under. And I think that with Campbell, Campbell is also one of these teams looking to avoid an 0-3 start in the Big South. And that's something that they haven't done in 10 years. So if Campbell's able to get to the free throw line and make as many free throws as we've seen already early on in conference season, then they're going to have a chance to keep this game close. They need Anthony Delarosio to freaking produce on the glass, extend those possessions, make that X factor difference. And when it comes to Gardner-Webb is just playing some good basketball, playing good tempo, and through 2 games, they've been able to eclipse the 80-point mark. So I think that when you look at this Gardner-Webb team, I think that there is some offensive regression to come for them. But when you can create so many second chance opportunities off Caleb Robinson rebounds, it does extend those possessions. It does give you those makeups for those bad shot attempts that you take. And this is frankly a game where I want to see Gardner-Webb come out, how they match up with Campbell, how the refs are calling the game. and then go from there. So nothing full game, but I do like Gardner-Webb first half. I like the first half under. I like the full game under. So with the line going up to 128.5 from 128, not much movement, but maybe you can sneak another half point or a point out of it. All right. Longwood and Big South, Longwood, in Charleston Southern. Now, this is a spot where I will be playing Tale of Two Halves in this game. I think that Longwood has proved to us already this year they're a very good first half team. And the way that they beat Charleston Southern last year inside the Buck Dome has me definitely feeling good about them. Isaiah Wilkins being in the lineup is a major difference. We've already seen his conference best 18 points a game so far early on. And when Longwood has him in the lineup, the scoring margin is very positive. Already it's at close to 20 points right now through the first couple games. So I think that the Lancers are in a good position to start 3-0 in the Big South for the second consecutive year. And even though they're on the road, we've seen them go out on the road, lock down that first half, and then the second half is an adventure. That's what I'm hoping for tonight. I like Charleston Southern. I like what they're getting out of Tajay Kelly and Claudel Harris. They're both combining to average 34 points a game. So bring those two guys at their best offensively, and I do think that Charleston Southern is able to make the comeback and keep this game within the 7.5 point spread. So I like Longwood first half. I like Charleston Southern full game in this spot. All right, let's talk Presbyterian and Winthrop. So obviously Winthrop has owned this series, has been very good as a Big South favorite in their home games, and I expect them to win this basketball game. But there's something about this number when it was at 6.5 that just made me say, Presbyterian's not as bad as you really think. With Owen McCormick being able to hit free throws, hit threes from the corners, do a good job bodying up on the low block on the defensive side of the basketball. Then when you throw in the fact that you have some very skilled fucking guys at getting to the rim in Winston Hill and Trevon Reddish-Rhyme, but free throws is a problem. And if they leave too many free throws at the free throw line, then they will not be able to stay within this. Listen, Winthrop is definitely different than they were last year. The fact that they don't have a standout scorer is nothing new. They've always been a very balanced offense, but you're going to need more than Corey Hightower and Kassan Harrison producing every game. You need multiple guys stepping up, and the more that they can get out of the bench, the better off they're going to be. This is a game that they can really flex their muscle, and even though Winthrop hasn't been the Winthrop that we've been used to, I do think that they do exercise some of their demons being at home versus a Presbyterian team that has some major holes. They're on a 5-game losing streak, but they've been good ATS. And you know what? The key for the Blue Hose defense tonight is just chasing Winthrop off the 3-point line, turning this into a rock fight, letting Crosby James get to work scoring. Listen, there's many opportunities on this freaking Blue Hose team to get good minutes, get your shot up, and put some numbers up. It's just a matter of who grabs the reins and fucking takes it over. I think that Presbyterian has value on the spread tonight. I think Winthrop is a money line filler. So if you like a coin flip game, I would add Winthrop money line to both sides of the spread as long as that spread cannot push. And I think that you win one of those parlays because Winthrop's going to take care of business, at least winning the basketball game. So I don't think that this is the year that the Blue Hose start to pull off upsets at Winthrop. Maybe in the second game that they play at home. All right, so let's talk about the last Big South game, and that's USC and Radford. Let me double check to make sure my mic is still fucking connected. And there's nobody here. Okay. It's funny. Where the fuck was I? All right. Listen, this Radford game to me is a Radford route spot. They have to win with defense. They have to take USC Upstate off the 3-point line and take away some of these easy field goal attempts that other defenses have been allowing them. When the Spartans are playing at home, they definitely play with a different level of confidence. And even though they've been very high scoring early on in conference season, I do think that that comes back down to earth tonight against Radford. I like what freaking this Radford team's doing. I like Brian Antoine. I like Daquan Smith. Daquan Smith is the X factor for me. This is a Radford team that is going to do a good job of keeping you under 60 points, but he's got to be the catalyst offensively. And if he can't drop 17 or more, then Radford's in trouble as far as taking care of the spread. But I do not expect an outright upset, especially this early on in conference season. Maybe later on if there's injuries and there's freaking drama going on behind the scenes, but from a number perspective, I would even look at Radford up as high as fucking 11.5. So this game could get ugly, or they could force Radford to really have to go up tempo with them. What I'm doing is Radford full game, Radford under, and then I'm going to be looking at the first half over because the line obviously has gone down from 139 to 136. All right, so that's it for the Big South. Let me go through quickly about Mississippi Valley State and Alabama A&M. That's a spot where I think that Alabama A&M is going to be able to flex some muscle. Mississippi Valley State is not going to be surprising anybody in the SWAC conference. They know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to do. Obviously, with Raekwon Brown and Terry Collins both going off in the same game is what will help them cover this number if they're going to, but I'm having sincere doubts about that. I think Alabama A&M rolls with their fucking punches. I think that this is a first half full game fucking spot for them to roll. I like their experience. I like the fact that this is a group that has a ton of continuity. And even though Alabama A&M hasn't been that impressive, I do think that they can still fucking silence the critics when it comes to some of their interior scoring and their free throw shooting with a team that sometimes can be very suspect offensively. I think that when you look at this game, you want to see a game that gets a little up tempo. You want to see a game that gets into the 140s, but it could very well turn out to be a rock fight. So for me in this game, I think that the best way to attack the total is to hit additional totals 4 points underneath the closing line. And then I think that Alabama A&M as at least a first half favorite with the likes of Garrett Hicks and Masai Thompson, Dalen Smith, who else is fucking good on that team? Cam Tucker, these are all guys that can freaking score the basketball. The problem's going to be what do they do at the free throw line? So don't also forget that Elisa Akinobi is a 7-footer. He plays 20 fucking minutes a game. He's going to be a force defensively. And you know what? Getting up easy shots at the rim when he's on the floor is not that easy. So that makes me like Alabama A&M that much more. And something that Mississippi Valley State has struggled against so far in the season. Big men that can protect the rim. So Alabama A&M has a lot of size. All right, Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alabama State. Listen, I think that the standard play for Arkansas Pine Bluff is to look at them at first halves. They're not a full game team. Their offensive numbers are really bad. They capitalize on other teams having bad starts. That's why they look good in second halves. Also, the fact that they can hit their free throws. But when you talk about a team that turns the basketball over, that takes bad shots, misuses the clock, is inefficient with the basketball when they can take advantage of their opponent, well, that's Arkansas Pine Bluff. The one difference is that they have a guy named Sean Doss, and Sean has hit, 35 or 36 free throws already at an 80% clip. He puts up he's already put up over 100 freaking inside the arc shots and hit 40% of them. And he's a 3-point fucking threat. So the reality is Arkansas Pine Bluff has a bunch of guys that can't shoot threes, but they have a bunch of guys that shoot over 30%. So for me, if you get the volume up, then you're able to freaking take away the need for efficiency. I think that with Arkansas Pine Bluff, you do worry about them getting into foul trouble with Kylan Milton running the show, handling the ball, and then Chris Green down low. I do think that Arkansas Pine Bluff can at least put up a fight for the first half. So plus 2.5 if you have to buy it is good number to me. So enough said on that game. All right, I got the hiccups, but I'll try and work through it. Grambling and Texas Southern, that's a pass. I would lean towards the over in Grambling, but that's about it. Southern and Prairie View, I think that game is an over. I think it's a way more high tempo than you saw against Prairie View and Grambling last time out. I think that just reversing it on that and it being around the same line, 6 points above, doesn't really scare me off of it. Southern's an offensive team, and don't forget, Southern, even if they're losing big, they're going to extend and foul and try and bring pressure and create turnovers until the game is over. So I saw them do it against Montana. They burned some people that way, not me, because I was on the right side. But it's something to be aware of when you're betting Southern games and you're betting their full game totals, that they do bring it until the game is over. Incarnate Word and Texas A&M Corpus Christi is a Southland game. It's a game that I bet the over on. I'm definitely looking towards taking Incarnate Word as a 14-point underdog. Just haven't got there yet, and I'm not really in a rush because the number is still available at multiple fucking numbers. So you can get 14.5, 14, and 13.5. And for me, that just means I don't have to rush on it. So I do like the over. I am on the over, and I'm looking to get on Incarnate Word. I think that Texas A&M Corpus Christi is pretty much the same roster. I just don't see the quality that I saw early last year. I think that there are teams that have figured out how to beat them, but if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to run with them. And if you can't run with them and Incarnate Word proves that they can't, then they have no chance of covering the spread, and this turns into a 20-point win. So for me, I think that the easiest way to approach this game is to take Incarnate Word plus the 14, and then for a half of your wager that you put on Incarnate Word, you would take Texas A&M Corpus Christi at a plus money alternate spread. I would go as high as 16.5 points. All right. That's the added board. Now let's talk about the main board. I'm sweating out a soccer game right now, and I don't want to check the score, so that's why I want to do this video at this time. I'm not doing it for anybody. I'm doing it for myself. So that's me, though. I love to do things for myself. Let's talk about Charleston, North Carolina A&T. Now, this is going to be a 5 o'clock game, so it is important to get your bets in early on this one. Obviously, the line has been fluctuating. It opened up at 9.5. It's up to 11.5, and I saw it at 12. I think that this is a game that Charleston really has to be aware of what North Carolina A&T can do. North Carolina A&T is going to hit their threes. They're not going to leave points at the free throw line very often. And when you talk about guys like Cam Wood and Demetri Horton, who's shooting 49% with 33 3-point makes, you got to be worried. You got to chase these fuckers off the line. The easiest way to play this game is to play first half over, full game over, and then Charleston first half. I think North Carolina A&T is a stingy team. I do not think that they're going to take getting beat down in the first half dry, and I do think that they come back and they try and backdoor cover. Now, beating Hofstra will put Charleston on their A game, but I just don't think that it's gonna be it's gonna fucking stop Charleston from doing what they're doing. First off, this game is gonna be on CBS Sports Network. We've seen how well they played when they're on TV, and we've seen how exciting the basketball is when they're on TV. So I like the fact that they're on TV because chances are we're gonna see a high tempo, high possession game. This team is hitting 53% of their shots inside the arc, and they're 74% at the free throw line. They're a great offensive rebounding team, and they're just an all-around efficient offensive team. When you have Ryan Larson, Rain Smith, Dalton Bolin, and now the emerging Pat Robinson, you got guys that can beat you from all different levels. They can be efficient near the rim, and most importantly, they're fucking 85% plus free throw shooters. So if you want to look at double-digit favorites that should be able to win games, this is one of them. And coming off an overtime game that they look like they were handling against Towson, I expect the best. So there isn't a situational angle that doesn't make Charleston look good to me in this spot. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it. All right. Auburn and Georgia. Now, this is a spot where in most years I'd be talking shit about Mike White's coaching, and I can't really do that this time around. Georgia's been very good at home. Georgia's been very good as an ATS favorite. And what they're going to have to do in this game is they're going to have to take away Auburn's dribble drive penetration. They're going to have to break the pressure, and they're going to have to lock down the 3-point line. We've seen how good this Georgia team can be on the offensive glass. We've seen how efficient they are at getting to the free throw line, shooting volume free throws, and being a team that shoots over 70%. I think we're getting the best of Georgia, and I think that this is a line that I have to look at 7.5. Terry Roberts is in the lineup. Carrillo Oquendo is in the lineup. Jalen Ingram is back healthy. Matthew Alexander Moncrief got over the concussion. There's just many faces and capable players that can help this Georgia team keep this game close. And when we talk about not leaving points at the free throw line, when we look at Terry Roberts, Oquendo, and Jabrir Abdur-Rahim, what's the commonality? They all shoot over 76% and have 20 makes or more. So I definitely think Georgia understands how to keep a game close, how to extend it, and how to keep them in it. So for me, this is a Georgia spot. If this was a reverse of venue, I would probably be looking at Auburn. And I have to bypass the coaching element of it. Coach Pearl is one of my people. So obviously I have a soft spot for him. His defense has been just as good, if not better, than Georgia's defense. And it's going to be a real battle of who can nullify the other team's advantage at the free throw line and at the glass, because both these teams get there a lot. The one difference is Auburn is just not shooting the basketball that well. So they've been able to skate by. They've been able to get through with some wins. When you barely beat Florida, you lose to USC, you lose to Memphis, that leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Beating Washington doesn't fucking do anything for me. So I'll say this. Keys for Auburn, if they want to cover this number, is keep Georgia off the free throw line, take away the 3-point shot, and really force them to work that shot clock and turn this into a game that doesn't see 130. If they don't, then I think that they're in trouble. So we'll see what happens. Villanova and Georgetown. Listen, what I'm going to do is I'm splitting my action. I want to take Villanova in this spot, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to take Georgetown for first half money line play for half a unit. I'm going to take Villanova minus the spread on the first half. I really don't know how to analyze the numbers for Georgetown, aside from the fact that if you cap it from a motivational and situational aspect, it's Georgetown early and then they fall apart late. But that's how I tried to approach it in their last game against Butler, and I got fucking burnt like a fucking piece of chicken in the deep fryer. So at the end of the day, this is just a gamble game, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. I think that if you are looking for an over, I would be looking at the first half over, but with the way that Georgetown is playing, it's just literally just throwing my hands up in the air. All right, let's talk a little St. Joe's and Dayton. Now, Dayton is a spot where what I really want is a fucking point prop on Day'Ron Holmes. Day'Ron Holmes has been absolutely beast mode. Cannot fucking think that this kid has played any better in his 2 years. And I just want his point prop. That's basically what I want. I just want his point prop. I obviously can't get it. If anybody knows a book that has it, please let me know. But I think that this Dayton team, we're probably skating on the threshold of their number. This is a fantastic defense at all three levels. They keep you off the free throw line. They do a good job of taking away offensive rebounds. They beast out on the offensive glass. The one thing you have to worry about is ball pressure is Are they going to pressure ball handlers? Are they going to try and play a little different kinds of defense in the half court? And that's where my question is. Dayton is not a good three-point shooting team. They're not a great free throw shooting team, but they get so many high percentage looks. They really squash that kind of shit. Now, if you look at past opponents, you look at Dayton and you say, well, they just played Davidson, they just played Duquesne and beat both by double digits, one beating double digits on the road, and neither team scored 60 points. Makes me think that this is another game that, maybe you want to buy half a point on Dayton and get 13 and a half because it just seems like a sharp number. I think that the key for Dayton's defense is take away the three-point shot, take away the free throw shot attempts, and really just control the tempo at times. We've seen Dayton slow it down, speed it up, slow it down, speed it up. I think it's really good to change your pace within game, and they've been able to do it while being able to score 70-plus points a game. So for me, I got to look at what St. Joe's team total is, because if it's 60 points or more, I'm looking towards the under. And when it comes to the spread, I want to buy that half point on Dayton. I think that even though Dayton sometimes has a little bit of a slow start, I think that there's value in a wire-to-wire win. If they want an at-large bid, they got to take away all those losses that we fucking remember. The UNLV loss, the Wisconsin loss, the North Carolina State loss, the BYU loss, the Virginia Tech blowout. So the A-10 has not done themselves any favors. All right, we'll move on from there. Western Carolina, East Tennessee State, that's a pass for me. Wofford, Mercer, I really don't understand what's going on in this game. We've seen the line go down. We know that that Mercer probably doesn't have Kamar Robertson, but just because they got Shannon Grant back 2 games ago does not mean that they're going to run the offense through him. So I'm questioning that fucking line of thinking right there. And I'm like, well, what is Mercer going to do? Well, let's not forget Mercer last time out, and the reason why they look so fucking bad is because they went 1 for 15 from 3. This is a team that drills threes, and when they're not drilling threes, they're getting drilled. So I just put it like this. If you think Mercer is going to be able to hit threes more than 1 for 15 tonight, then chances are this first half is going over, and Mercer is going to fucking win this basketball game. I don't like what's going on with Wofford. I can't quantify what McCauley leaving means to this team. So obviously there was drama. They didn't like him. They wanted him out. He was mistreating players. But is that going to fucking help them against Mercer in this game? I just don't fucking know. And that's my big problem. There's just stuff that you just don't know. From a stat perspective, Mercer doesn't hit threes. Mercer's fucked. That's pretty much how it is. And in the last 2 games, their 3-point defense let them down both times, giving up 13 and 14 threes respectively. At least in the game against Samford, they were able to hit 6 for 13. So you combine bad 3-point shooting and bad 3-point defense means you lose basketball games. I think that this is a good get-right spot, and it's a good test to see if Mercer's ready. I don't understand what's going on with Jalen Cobb. I wish that he was back in the lineup. I don't know why Luis Hurtado is playing such fucking small minutes. I just don't understand what's going on with this fucking roster. We have seen the emergence of Michael Zanoni. He's been a very dangerous 3-point shooter and a guy that's cold-blooded inside the arc. But outside of that, this Mercer team on paper should be much better than they are. James Gilson not playing big minutes. The one constant has been Jalen McCreary. Outside of that, everything else is a fucking question mark. I will say this, when you have 7'2" and 6'10" playing at the 5 spot, you should be able to deter a lot of what Wofford's going to do. And Wofford is going to be very rim-oriented. That's their name of the game. They're very good interior passing team. And when the 3-point shot is not dropping, they do not keep on hoisting it. They keep on fucking going elsewhere. And I think that going inside against a team with so much size and Mercer may not work out for them. So for me, I love Jackson Pavlovetsky. I think that he's one of the most exciting freshmen in college basketball, but I don't think it's enough. So shout out to Kyler Filowich, my fellow Canadian from fucking Manitoba, but I don't think that this is a win for Wofford on the road. They may feel less pressure and play better on the road than they are at home. They got good free throw shooters. They got guys that are efficient inside the arc, but dealing with that kind of natural size and not having 3-point shooters aside from Pavlovetsky, that worries me. You know, you need a big game from Corey Tripp, and I can't get behind it. So I'm obviously rambling on, and that means I need to move on. Northern Iowa and Valparaiso. This is a spot where I saw Northern Iowa as a -1.5, and now they're a 3-point favorite. That really sucks the value out of my line because I only had them as a 4.5-point favorite. And I think that the easiest way to bet this game is to bet it 2 games within one. Bet the first half on Northern Iowa, see what happens in that first half, and then make a judgment for the second half play. All right, now we'll talk about my team, the Bonnies, against George Mason. Now, this is a spot where I want to take the Bonnies, but I don't like the matchup. I think that the Bonnies' 3-point defense versus George Mason's amazing 3-point shooting is going to determine this game. And I do think that it is the definition of a coin flip. So for me, the Bonnies being at home is a good thing, but I don't know if it really helps them against this quality in George Mason. We're going to need to stop Josh Adoro. That's going to be a big freaking thing, a big ask from this Bonnie defense. And listen, you know, I'm going to be on the Bonnies, but I'm not telling or expecting you to be. George Mason's a good 3-point defense team. They're very good inside the arc, outside the arc. The one area of concern that you're going to have is how many turnovers that they freaking are forcing themselves into and how many points at the free throw line do they leave. You know, that game against Richmond was a little bit of a nail biter because they kept on missing goddamn free throws. So we'll see what happens. It's a game where I won't hate anybody or wish death or cancer upon you if you bet on George Mason, but I'm going to be on my Bonnies. If I have to donate, then I got to donate. When I look at this game, it reeks of under, but I would not be surprised to see this game go way over. So 127 seems like a reasonable number. All right, VCU and Duquesne. I got nothing on that game. I lean towards the over, and I lean towards Duquesne at home. I'm not buying VCU right now. I want to see the best of Jaden Nunn, Jameer Watkins, and Ace Baldwin in the same game before I start laying my money on VCU again. Loyola Chicago and Davidson. This is a spot where I just keep on biting my nails and fucking taking Davidson. I think that against Loyola Chicago and their slow pace, I think that that works into their favor, especially in this game, but you're going to need a standout game from fucking Foster Loyer. I don't like the softness of this Davidson team. They're doing a good job of taking care of the basketball and getting to the free throw line, but the 3-point shooting has definitely let me down, and they've really tried to win with defense, which I'm just not used to seeing. I'm used to seeing this team go up and down, and coming off a game where they only scored 55 points against Dayton makes this a very good situational rebound spot. And with the number being at 3.5 minus 105 makes me think that there's still 2.5 points of value. I think that obviously Foster Loyer can't do it all himself. His 3-point shooting definitely hasn't been up to where it was last year, but I think that getting the ball inside to Sam Menenga and getting him to the free throw line and getting paint penetration is what's going to help this team the most. Obviously, you want and expect better from Grant Huffman and Connor Kuchera, but that just is not facilitating right now. So I do think that when you look at an X factor and a guy who has to show up tonight for Davidson to cover this number is Desmond Watson. He's been great from all 3 levels. He's been very good with the mid-range Jimmy. He's been able to limit his turnovers and do a little bit of ball facilitation, drawing the defenders in and kicking it out. And if he can do that in this game, then I think that Davidson's going to have a much easier time. But not my favorite spot, but it is a spot that I'll be on. At the end of the day, I'm just not impressed with what Loyola Chicago is doing. I don't like their three-point shooting. I don't like their freaking free throw retention. And when it comes down to it, we've seen them get embarrassed, and that's because of poor three-point defense. So most recently, we saw it against George Washington in their last game. They gave up 10 threes. It didn't help them. Phil Alston and fucking Marquise Kennedy are solid players, but they need more help. They can't fucking put 60 or 70 points a game in between them. They need guys like Bryce Golden and Braden Norris to freaking produce. So for me, this is a team in Loyola Chicago that you can really freaking force out to the three-point line. And I do think that it does present an advantage for you pushing them out there. Now, obviously, you don't want to fucking let Braden Norris and Marquise Kennedy hit open threes, but if you can push them out there and you can contest those threes, chances are you are going to fucking come up and keep them under 35%. I think that this Loyola Chicago team on paper should be much better than they are, and if they prove that tonight, then fucking shame on me. But I'm not going to take them even as a 4-point dog on the road in conference when they're looking like they're not really ready for the A10. All right, Chattanooga and Greensboro. Now, this is a very popular game if you've been watching Chattanooga basketball because obviously Jake Stevens has been amazing. We've seen the three-point shooting. We've seen the very high-octane starts and the good first-half betting. So I wouldn't fault you if you're on Chattanooga first half, but UNC Greensboro has the number moving towards them. The line obviously opened up at 1. Now it's up to 2. And I think that UNC Greensboro, especially with the Langley brothers playing so well together on the floor, is a big advantage in this matchup. I think that when you look at Greensboro, as long as they can do a better job converting inside the arc on some of the bunnies that they're getting, their defense will take care of the rest. I think that this is a Greensboro team that you're getting at a good time. And I think that having a Keandre Kennedy and a Mikal Brown-Jones producing for you is the key to it. Both players are very solid from the three-point line, from the free throw line, and Mikal Brown-Jones has been a very unstoppable driver. If you can get good point production out of those two guys, and then the Langleys both show up, I think that this is a UNC Greensboro full game win. I'm not saying that it's a first half win, but the key matchup on the defensive side of the basketball is going to be Muhammad Abdul-Salam versus Jake Stevens. Can he stay with him? Can he guard him on the outside? These are the questions that you're not going to know until the game gets played. This is a Chattanooga team that plays VMI old school basketball, lots of threes, and they're very good at hitting them. So you know what they're going to want to do offensively, and you have to stop them. There hasn't been a game since I would think that the Lipscomb game or maybe that non-D1 game that they played, that they have not shot and put in more than 10 threes. So for me, it's very hard to bet any kind of Chattanooga game under when you know that at least freaking 42 points or so are going to come from the three-point line. So last 3 games, they've hit 14 for 39, 14 for 39, 14 for 34. It screams to me first half over, full game over. And I'll say this with Greensboro, they're not afraid to score the basketball either. We've seen them put up some points. Obviously you don't want to go back to the Western Carolina game, but the Wofford game, the Eastern Kentucky game, the Marshall game, I think that this is a beatable number at 133. So for me, it's over first half full game. It's Chattanooga first half, Greensboro full game. So a nice little fucking 4 spot. All right, Citadel and Furman. Don't have much to say on this. I lean towards taking the Citadel. I don't like Furman as a favorite at this kind of number ever. I just don't like it. On paper, they should be able to cover this number. They did against VMI, but I do think Citadel is a little better than VMI. So we'll move on from there. Miami, Georgia Tech. I got nothing on. I'm gonna fucking take Miami first half, but it's just a fucking gamble play, so I'm not even gonna waste my time talking about it. Duke, NC State. Listen, I'm not going to take Duke on the road as a favorite against NC State when you have fucking Jarkel Joyner, Taquavian Smith, when you have freaking the scores that NC State has, and then when you have a fucking beast like DJ Burns down low, he's definitely going to give some of the Duke front court trouble. I worry about Duke's advantage athletic-wise, and I do worry about the multiple game changers that they have on the roster, but I think that if you're going into NC State, you're going to have a loud crowd. You're going to have a team that doesn't give up. And the way that NC State shoots their free throws does not give me any kinds of qualms about taking them. I took them at 5.5. I like them at 5. And I think that this is going to be a much tougher game than is being anticipated. Now, if you want to take Duke, my suggestion would be Duke first half if you're going to take them. Some of these road favorites like Miami, like Duke, like who else is a favorite? Sorry, I'm just scrolling down. Those are the only two that I'm seeing on my sheet right now. But those are two teams that ideally you'd rather back them first half like the Virginia-Pittsburgh game yesterday. So that's how I look at it. George Washington and Richmond. Now, George Washington came off a fucking brilliant offensive performance. James Bishop with a 40-point game. Don't think that's happening against Richmond. I think that this is an under game. I think that this is a game that George Washington's offense comes back to earth. And I would lean towards Richmond as this type of favorite. I like what they have down low with Neil Quinn. I like what they have with Matt Grace, my fellow Canadian. I like what they're doing with Tyler Burton, how strong he is and how determined he is to get to the rim. You're not going to force him to settle for jump shots. So for me, it's a square spot, but I like the under and I like Richmond. All right, Fordham and Rhode Island. Oh, nice. I get to talk shit about Antrell Charlton. Antrell Charlton is a fucking fool. He's a stupid motherfucker. I don't know how he got into a university, but I want to check his fucking transcripts. He is fucking dumb as a doorknob. He is fucking stupider than a brick. I don't like him. I don't like his three-point shooting. I don't like his decisions with the basketball, and I don't like his fucking turnovers. So fuck you. I like Rhode Island tonight. I don't like this Fordham team against conference foes. I don't think that they're as good as other people think that they are, and I don't think that they're as good as they think that they are. I think Rhode Island flexes some muscle tonight. This is a pure hate bias play. Fuck you, Fordham. Penn State and Michigan, I got nothing on it. I would lean towards the over just because Penn State's going to have to hit threes. Otherwise, they're getting blown out. Texas A&M and Florida, I got nothing on that game. I would have taken the under. I would have told you to take the under at 140, but at 138.5 or 138, no thank you. Skipping over that. UNC Wilmington and Elon. I think that this is a game where we really see Wilmington's offense propel them in this game. I think that when you look at Wilmington, they've had some defensive regression over the last couple of games, and that was kind of to be expected. I think that in this game, you do see them fucking give up some points, but I do think that they outscore and win this game by 12 to 13 points. So you do have, excuse me, I have the hiccups again. You do have the 2.5 points of value with Wilmington, at least by my numbers. But I think that the better value is the over 132. Wilmington's been solid from all three levels. They've done a really good job again to the free throw line, even if that's a result of late game fouling and game extending. But, they've just been knocking teams around, and I think that this is another opportunity for them to do so. The three-point defense has been fantastic. They've really not gotten murdered down low in high percentage defensive areas, but it's an improvement. I think that the biggest key for them is just offense. We're seeing the 3-point shot dropping. They've hit 8 or more in 4 of the last 5 games. We've seen them be very drive and rim oriented, and that starts with freaking Donovan Newby and Trezarian White. Trezarian White's your guy who's going to get inside, who's going to get to the free throw line. Obviously, he has to do a little better job of that. And then Donovan Newby has been the recipient of all those double teams inside and those kickouts of to the 3-point line. I like what UNC Wilmington can bring off the bench. Experienced guys that know how to play at this level. And I'm talking about Nick Farr. Nick Farr was fantastic last time out against Hampton. I think that he continues to be and continues to get run. He's already 15 for 24 from the field and 4 for 9 from 3 in limited action so far this year because he was injured. And I think that that's one of the keys. Different guys being able to stand out and stand up. And then I look at a guy like Victor Enwa, who obviously isn't going to bring the offensive element, but he's a very good defensive player. And I think that coming from Marist, he's definitely been a guy that a lot of people have forgotten about. I think that there's options for Takeo Sidell. And I think that when you look at this UNC Wilmington, as long as they don't underestimate Elon, they should be able to win this game and win this game by margin. Don't get me wrong, Elon is no pushover. They've covered the last 2 games in conference against Drexel and Delaware, but they're not playing winning basketball, and that's the difference. I think that there are some very nice roster development spots with this team, especially Max McKinnon and Sam Halloran. But, Sam Halloran's got to be the guy. He creates his own 3-point shots. He's deadly efficient at the free throw line. But he needs someone else to fucking be that Robin to him Batman. And I think that when you look at a guy like Max McKinnon, that's the guy that can be your running mate. Obviously, we expected Zach Irvin and guys like fucking Sam Sherry and Jadon Michael to lead this team. But I'm still believing that Elon is still respectable. I don't think that this is going to be a walk in the park, but you're not going to find me taking Elon full game. I think UNC Wilmington first half and playing this like a game of 2 halves is the best way to do it. So I like over, I like Wilmington early, and I lean towards Wilmington full game. All right, where are we? Iowa State and Oklahoma. That's a pass. No, thank you. ECU and Central Florida. I took the over at 127. At 129.5, obviously, we're getting the ass end of the line, so I'm not going to fucking tell you to jump on that. I think that ECU is definitely, this is the one test for them as an underdog. I think at home, they need fucking Small and Brandon Johnson to produce. I think that when you look at this East Carolina team, if they got to play from behind against Central Florida, that's where I'm going to have a little bit of worry. To me, if you can get Taylor Hendricks point prop under 14.5 points, I think that that's a good prop to get on for Central Florida. I just love how this kid plays basketball. I love his size, and I love his 3-point shooting stroke. But for spread purposes, I'd be looking at East Carolina +6 as a full game dog. All right, Temple, South Florida. Very impressed with what I've seen from South Florida, but not buying it in this game against Temple. Temple can lock you down. Temple can run with you. But most importantly, Temple has Damian Dunn and Khalif Battle both in the lineup together. Damian Dunn, we know what a free throw fucking machine making he is. He had already a game where he made 20+ free throw attempts. This could be the type of game that gets really out of hand offensively, gets really lackadaisical defensively, or is an absolute rock fight that doesn't see 125. So for me, as a side, it's Temple all day, first half over, and then I want to take an additional total on the full game over, and then an additional total on the full game under. That's the way that I'm going to gamble on this game. And it's a gamble because it is a coin flip game. It is a small favorite at home in conference that very easily could be fucking a 2-point dog. So coin flip game, I'd prefer the better scoring offense, and no offense to what South Florida is doing with Miguel, with fucking Keyshawn Bryant, with fucking Tyler Harris. They've done fantastic and I've been betting on them, but I just don't like them in this matchup. So if they were a 15-point underdog, then I'd be all over them. like I was in Memphis, but this is a different animal. All right, Tulsa and Tulane. This is a spot where I like the over. I think that with Tulane, Jalen Cook being efficient, attracting the defense and opening up those Jalen Forbes corner threes is obviously a key. I don't know if I really like Tulane as a 13.5-point favorite. I'm not going to fucking put that Tulsa game against SMU too much in my memory. I'm going to try and just flush that down the toilet. And I think that the way to play it is to play Tulsa as a 13.5-point dog against a Tulane defense that's going to allow them a lot of 3-point looks. It's going to allow them a lot of running opportunities and is going to give them a lot of possessions. So for me, it's over first half, over full game, and then I lean towards Tulsa as a 13.5-point dog, and I'm just plugging my nose on it. All right, let's see how much more we have to do. VMI and Sanford, I don't have anything on that game. New Mexico State and Stephen F. Austin, I want to take New Mexico State, but something's holding me back. I got to talk to my whack hoops guy and then get his opinion on it before I put any bet, but I lean towards fucking Mexico State in that game. St. Louis and UMass. Now, my big problem for St. Louis is Javonte Perkins is only averaging 10 points a game. That's not the Javonte Perkins I thought that was going to come into the season and really be effective and have him and Jalen Pickett really be the fucking key catalyst for this team. I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to believe it. When I look at this group, I think that they're much better than what they've done so far on the spread, and that's where I worry. You know, when you look at the St. Louis team, they're efficient and effective, taking care of the basketball, creating second chance opportunities, taking good shots, just the numbers aren't there. You know, when they're being rim oriented and they're fucking forcing their opponent to put them on the free throw line, that's when they're at their best. And if they can do that in this game, then they should be able to win this game and cover this number. Now, if you were quoting me a spread that was 6 points, I'd be looking at UMass all day. At the end of the day, this UMass team is just not as good as what a lot of us have thought. And when you have a point guard like Yuri Collins on the other side facilitating this offense to go along with Gibson Jimerson's 3-point shooting, to go along with Fred Thatch's ability to break you off the dribble and get to the rim, you know, there are a lot of offensive options outside of Perkins and Javon Pickett. So as much as I want to see Pickett and Perkins be P and P, but there's still other guys that you can fucking rely on. I think that once Coach Ford makes some solid decisions on who he wants to be on the floor 30 minutes a game outside of Jimerson and Collins, then the St. Louis team will produce better for us as backers of them on the spread. I do like the fact that this UMass team got Noah Fernandes back, and I do think that coming off such a bad road game against St. Bonaventure makes them a buy low spot. I just don't think that they're listening to the coaching staff still. I still don't think they're listening. I still don't think that they're adapting in game. They got mad talent on this team with fucking Dominguez, with RJ Louis. I just don't see it against a crisp offensive team and a defensive team that's going to take away a lot of your close rim looks. And that's what St. Louis is going to do. So I'll bite the apple. I'll roll with St. Louis in this game. And hopefully they fuck with their eyes open and they're not fucking BBWs like Pat Chambers with his eyes closed and on fucking 13 shots of Zambuca. Because Zambuca is disgusting. All right. Let's talk some MVC because obviously it is MVC night, and I'll try and speed it up because obviously I'm taking forever. Bradley is a bet on spot for me. I like that they're healthy. I like that they can go into Murray State. They can really take away a lot of the dribble drive, a lot of the ball screen action that you're going to get from Murray State. And plain and simply, like outside of freaking Burns, I don't see the game changer. I don't see the game breaker. And it would take a bad game on Bradley for Murray State to be in this game. So I think that the spread going from 3.5 to 5 is the correct move. I think that Bradley is definitely a candidate as a road favorite in conference to go in and flex. So for me, the the main question in my head is going to be, can Bradley score enough? They're going to have to score. They're not going to be able to win this game playing fantastic defense that we usually see at home, simply put. Yeah, that's about it. Just Bradley on that game. Indiana State and Illinois State is an interesting one. If Illinois State can run their offense and utilize some of their size that they have with my fellow Canadian Liam McChesney, then I do think that they give Indiana State problems. But if they can't limit their turnovers and they turn the ball over, Indiana State is going to be running and running and running, and they're going to be scoring and scoring and scoring. Listen, when you could run some legit offense against Indiana State's defense will leak like a fucking boat with a hole in it. If not, they're going to look like they're a national champion and an MVC champion. So for me, it's Indiana State. I got them early. I got the over on the game. I think that they force Illinois State into their kind of tempo. And the faster that they can get off to a good start, the better off Indiana State's going to be in this game. Obviously, there are some injury issues for them, but they're bench guys that are dealing with some injuries. So for me, if you got to go with your starters 5 or 6 extra minutes in this game, I can live with that. So Indiana State all the way, and I like the over in the game. Belmont and Illinois Chicago. I like that this line is moving towards Illinois Chicago from 5 down to 4.5. But I think that the better value is in the total. I think that this is an over first half, over full game. We've seen Illinois Chicago's very leaky defense, and we've also seen Illinois Chicago get thumped because of that leaky defense. Belmont is one of those teams that can take advantage of it with the amount of three-point shooting that they have with Cade Tyson specifically. That's a guy that can really freaking put some work in, and then the multiple guys that they can rotate in and out in the front court. I think that this is a Belmont spot, and I just don't like the matchup that Illinois Chicago is going to have. Now, the best thing for Belmont in this game, if they want to really win this game by margin, is to slow it down. But that doesn't work well for me in my total, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I just hope that Illinois Chicago's leaky defense continues to be a leaky defense. Evansville and Missouri State's an interesting game because obviously with Missouri State, we've seen Donovan Clay and how he's played this point forward role and how much trouble he's caused for some of these other MVC teams and non-conference teams. I think that in this game, though, Evansville has Toomey, and with Yakoma Toomey and his size, which is going to be bigger than Clay, and he's just as athletic, I think that that could be a major problem for Evansville. But like we've seen so far, Evansville has been the whooping boy, the get right spot, the fucking route spot, the flex your offense spot, and I'm not going to take them. I'm going to let that line go down as low as it wants. It opened up at 15.5. It's at 13.5 right now, but you're not going to find me on fucking Evansville, that's for sure. They gotta show me a couple games, and then I'll get on the tail end of it. Drake and Southern Illinois, absolute coin flip game. Look towards Southern Illinois to win the game at home. As good as Drake is on paper, I don't like some of their fucking antics at the end of games. I don't like some of their decisions on inbound passes. And frankly, I don't trust Drake to take care of the basketball when it matters most. So I'll roll with Southern Illinois. If Southern Illinois changed venues, I'd be on the other side. I just think that this is a home team win. And at a coin flip line, it's not what I'm going to spend my time talking about. Missouri and Arkansas. This is a first half Missouri spot. I'm very scared to be on this spot with Missouri on the road. Like them much better as a home dog, but I'm rolling with what I think is an advantage against an Arkansas team that does have a tendency to start slow and have to play catch up. And if they have to play catch up, that's going to be a problem against Missouri because Missouri is just a very good 3-point shooting team. And when you think you have somebody bottled up, they can make that very nice fucking pass and get you a fucking bucket. So for me, Missouri State first half and then evaluate from there. Lindenwood and Little Rock. This is a spot where I want to get on Little Rock. I think that there's going to be points in this game. I think that Little Rock against Lindenwood, Little Rock is not going to be a spot that you want to jump on a bunch of times this year. But in this particular matchup, at 6.5 or 6 would be worthwhile to me. I'm not going to talk more about it because I want to get you guys out of here. Uconn and Providence, don't really need to say it. I'm going to be on Uconn first half. I'm not taking Uconn full game because there is something in the back of my mind that says that Providence wins this game outright. So, yeah. I want Uconn to win, but I'm nervous. All right, let's see if I have anything else on these other games. Clemson, Tech, no. Wake Forest, North Carolina, no. I like Illinois, pretty big. I took them 3 times on the spread. I think that they win the game. But now that I saw second half plays on it, I'm very worried. So that's what happens with some of these Power 5 games. Not my favorite spots. I'm not going to buy off any of my Illinois spots, but I'm not feeling that confident about them. DePaul and Butler, I don't have anything on it. TCU and Baylor, with LJ Cryer not healthy, I just don't find the same kind of value backing this Baylor team at this type of number. It would probably be TCU or Bet It Live. Colorado State, Nevada, no, that's nothing. I'm not even going to bet that game. I'm just going to fucking shut it down. All right, well, that's about it. Made it through the whole card without fucking vomiting or fucking punching a screen. Have to check the soccer game. Hopefully good things. All right, that's about it for me. Take care. Fuck with your eyes open. Dip your chicken tenders in honey, never honey mustard.